Okay, class, moving right along. We are now going to be adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Okay. And remembering from our vocabulary yesterday, a mixed number has a whole number part and a fractional part. So let's say that I have the problem 1 4/5 plus 2 1/10. Okay. Well, the first thing I want you to do is circle your symbol, adding or subtracting. Okay? And I want you to do that so that you don't make a mistake and add when you should be subtracting or subtract when you should be adding. Okay? Just bring that to your attention there. Okay? Okay. Okay, next, I want you to either add or subtract your fractional pieces. Okay, and you have to make sure you have common denominators. Okay, so over here I have 4/5 plus 1/10. Okay, now I don't have common denominators, right? So I'm going to have to go ahead and make some common denominators and create equivalent fractions. Okay, and I know that 10 is my lowest common multiple between 5 and 10. So my new denominator is 10. Okay, 1 times 10. So 1 times 1, because I have to do the same to the top as I do to the bottom. 5 times 2 is 10. And so 4 times 2 is 8. Okay. So now, my step says to add and subtract my fractional parts. So I'm going to add them. 8 plus 1 is 9/10. Now I need to go back over here, so this is 9/10. Okay. So then my next step would be to add or subtract my whole numbers. Okay, so 2 plus 1 is 3. Therefore, 1 4/5 plus 2 1/10 is 3 9/10. Okay. Now we do need to remember that if our answer is improper, okay, if our answer is an improper fraction, we need to change it to a mixed number. And add it to the whole number. Okay, so let's try an example here that would be like this. Let's do 8 1/2 plus 6 and 3/5. Okay, so let's go look up here. We're going to circle our symbol to remind us that we're adding. Okay, and then we're going to add our fractional parts. Okay, so 2 and 5, I can't do that just yet because I don't have a common denominator. So I'm going to create an equivalent fraction here. 1/2, 3/5. I know that my lowest common multiple is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 5. And 1 times 5 is 5. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add my fractional pieces. Okay, so that's 5 plus 6 is 11/10. Okay, so that is an improper fraction. So from the lesson from the day before, we know that we turn improper fractions into mixed numbers by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Okay, so I'm going to take 10 into 11. That goes once. 1. So it's 1, and this becomes the numerator, and my denominator, 1 and 1/10. Okay? So I've got 1/10 on this side, and then I've got to add this whole number to these two whole numbers. Okay? So 8 plus 6 is 14, plus this one right here is 15. So therefore my answer is 15 and 1/10. Okay? Now then the very last step that we need to remember is to simplify if possible. And remember, we do that by dividing the numerator and denominator by the greatest common factor. Okay, let's try a subtraction one real quick. Let's do 2 and 4/5 minus 1 and 1/2. Okay? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is circle my sign, remind myself that I'm subtracting. Okay? And my lowest common multiple between 5 and 2 is 10, so I'm going to create my equivalent fractions. So I've got, now I have 8/10 minus 5/10, because 4/5 because 1/2 is 5/10. So 8 minus 5 is 3. So that's 3/10. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. So 2 and 4/5 minus 1 1/2 is 1 and 3/10. Okay? And let's try a couple practice. Let's see if you can do 1 and 5/12 plus 4 and 1/6. Try that for practice. And then let's practice a subtraction one. Let's do 3 and 2/3 minus 1 and 1/6. Okay, I know there's a lot of steps to remember here to do this, but that's the reason that I have given it to you in step by step, so you should have your journal right next to you while you're solving these. All right, see you tomorrow.